Hey everyone, welcome back to Niche Pursuits News. This week in Niche Pursuits News is a fun podcast format that Jared and I here do every week where we talk about the news in the industry. We talk about a couple of weird niche sites that we have going on, and then of course some fun side projects as well. So first of all, Jared, how you doing?
Good. I'm excited to be here. I was saying before we started recording that I was looking at my calendar this morning, and it's been a busy week, and I saw this on the calendar and was very excited. So good to be here. These are fun every week, so it's kind of just our hour to talk shop and kind of rub elbows with what's going on in the news every week.
Yeah, absolutely it is. It's fun. It's something that is on the calendar. Hopefully people have it on their calendar for Friday morning when these come out and enjoy these as well. There was like such... I want to almost say bombshell news last week, with Google generative AI now being in the search results. That this week's news, like I'm looking for that next big thing, and there is big news, but we've got a series of 4 or 5 topics that we'll hit on that maybe aren't quite as bombshell, but still are impacting the way that I think we as content creators are doing business.
This is one of those weeks where, some weeks you go out to dinner and you get the feature entree, right? And that restaurant is known for the feature entree. Other times you go and you get like a small plate kind of experience, like tapas style, right? This is the tapas style news episode, I feel like. We got a lot of good topics to talk about. None of them are bombshell topics like last week.
Yeah, I love it. So we got like the 7-course meal going on here where we can dive into all these little topics. So
before we jump into the podcast, I wanted to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
This is how we landed massive links for our client in The Sun, a DR90 website, and many other UK news websites. We have used freely available data from YouGov to simply find out what the nation's favorite car brand is and which brands people love the most. Of course, Rolls-Royce came out on top, Aston Martin second, and Jaguar third. We put these insights in a short email and sent it to journalists that write about cars and to national news desks on behalf of our client. Within a few days, our client got featured in all the Suns, as well as many regional newspaper sites in the UK, gaining DR90 links to their leasing comparison website. YouGov website is full of unlimited PR stories with data already available for free. All you have to do is to start researching their data and start asking the data questions. You will be surprised of the unlimited PR campaigns that you will find there that can help you build massive exposure and links to your or your clients' websites. I hope this video is helpful and inspirational.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now.
First up is OpenAI ChatGPT made live their plugins. So ChatGPT now has plugins, and this has been in beta, so maybe if people had heard this, but they are actually live now. And so people can come in here, and there's only, about a dozen or so that are actually live from Expedia, Instacart, Kayak, OpenTable, and a few others. But the wait list as a developer is open. And so, this in my mind, my business mind, sort of goes wild with all the possibilities of, boy, I could create a plugin for ChatGPT. And so that's really the big idea here, is that if you have a little idea, there could be this whole other marketplace, similar to the Shopify marketplace or the WordPress plugin repository or the Apple store, right? We've got the ChatGPT plugin store now, where maybe you could be out creating a plugin idea. So I know I'm showing a few here, but from what I've read, a couple of fun things that you can do with like Zapier is you can use Zapier to tap into your Gmail and train OpenAI on your voice of how you write emails and respond to emails, and so that you can quickly respond to emails, or AI can respond to your emails for you on your behalf via Zapier, and just save you a ton of time responding to emails. So that's kind of cool. There was another one with Zapier. As I look over at my notes, tweets. You can create tweets and sort of train it on how you write Twitter threads, and OpenAI can create those. And with Zapier, you can actually connect Twitter to that, and it can produce tweets for you. So kind of a cool way to automate some of that.
I mean, I like you, I haven't been able to dive in and play around with it, but this is, to me, clearly where we're really starting to get into a ChatGPT being extremely functional. I mean, once you get the prompting down and all that, like ChatGPT is really powerful, but there is a lot of back and forth. You're going over there, you're moving stuff back over, you're having to ask certain prompts, take the data, streamline it, get it over to where you need it to be, reformat it, go back, ask ChatGPT to format it properly, get it back over. And this is really the extension of not having to do all that in between, that messy in between.
Right. Exactly. So, they have some examples, but maybe we'll leave it there. It's something really for people to keep their eye on, because I could definitely see it impacting the SEO and content creation world as people get more innovative to come up with plugin ideas that people could start using, right? So kind of keep your eye on the marketplace here, either just to see what can help you in your business, or if you want to be at the top of the food chain, create your own plugin that other people can use and purchase, and hopefully you can make money from.
It's interesting to see which categories they picked to launch with, and not to read too far into it, but to your point, like if you're a developer or someone who feels like they might be able to have an impact, like looking at what they launched with, the topics they launched with, I've got to imagine they have some data behind that, and that it wasn't by accident that they launched with these brands and these topics, and kind of helps me understand better how, on a global scale, on a large scale, OpenAI thinks people are going to interact or engage with this platform. Like they didn't launch with 100 of them. They launched with a few, and they were probably pretty carefully selected in terms of topics.
Yep. Absolutely. So interesting space to watch for sure. So right along with OpenAI, of course, is more news. This week in news, just a couple of days ago, I believe it was, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, testified before Congress, which is always a big deal. When Congress wants to bring in a CEO or a business owner and sort of grill them on their business. And so they asked Sam Altman all kinds of questions about AI, the risks of AI, the potential harm to the economy, what's going to happen to jobs because of AI, and lots of questions that came out of this. It was like a 4.5-hour interview that I did not listen to. I did listen to a couple of clips, but fortunately, and I'm going to share this here, is somebody summarized sort of all the main points on Twitter that I'm showing here, I think now, on my screen. Basically some of the points that were interesting that Sam Altman made was misinformation risk. Companies do have the risk that the AI is not going to provide accurate information, right? And this could become widespread. And I think further down here somewhere it talks about political risk, right? In particular, in a political cycle, right, there can be a lot of misinformation. And if people are using AI to get that information or to produce that information, it can spread very quickly and have consequences, political consequences. Right? Okay, here it is. Election misinformation, right? AI could impact that as well. And so then he talked about ways to regulate AI, creating new agencies and licenses as a way to regulate AI models. How well that's going to work, I don't know. But creating safety standards for AI models, etc. So maybe I won't dive too much deeper into this other than to say Congress is now paying attention very much to OpenAI, to AI models. Anytime the government is starting to step in and potentially regulate, it's a big deal.
We've done a good job, Spencer, so far, not having to be very speculative on what we comment on with the news, right? We've We've definitely voiced some comments over the episodes here about different things. I'll say this: a couple years ago, and maybe you'll remember the actual year. I remember it was summertime, but it was only a couple years ago where some of the big tech companies went before Congress to talk about. I think it was more on the antitrust side of things, right? We had Google's CEO, we had Amazon, we had Facebook, Meta, Zuckerberg was there. And I just remember watching some of the video and the recap from that. And the questions were, I mean, I don't know any other way to sugarcoat it. They were painfully basic and showed how distant the lawmakers were from what's really happening inside of these environments. Looking over the article and looking over the comments and looking over a few of the videos that you have shared, there definitely seems to be a little bit more connection from the government to what's happening here. And so I think that's encouraging. Like, the more that we can at least all be on the same page about this, the better. And that was encouraging because that whole episode, like I always talk about how it's no wonder that there isn't a lot of regulation when it comes to stuff Google does and how they, the IP concerns with our content that we produce and all these things, because just go watch that. Like, they have no clue what's really happening. But this seemed to be a little bit less, tone deaf about the situation here.
Yeah, that is a good point. Even though AI is extremely complicated, and so Congress is going to be kind of as clueless as they were about how Google operates, right? As we sort of painfully watched, they can see that there is going to be an impact on jobs. And so that is something where I feel like, okay, Congress should be aware of this. Government should be, right, at least be thinking about this, which clearly they are now, right? Is AI going to replace 50% of all the jobs in the future? They need to be thinking about this, how that's going to impact the economy and the livelihoods of citizens here. So,
by the way, on a completely separate note, if you are looking for a great way to write a tweet, that is it right there.
Yes, here you go. You can have some a model.
Yeah, those watching on YouTube can see how on the screen. But yeah, what a great way to captivate an audience and get looks like 2 million views recapping what the CEO of OpenAI said.
Right, and this was just written yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, right? And it's got Anyways, I agree. The last thing that I will say about this whole interview is that one of the questions that Sam Altman was asked is essentially, how much do you own of OpenAI? And it came out that he owns 0%. He has 0% equity in the company. And this shocked me. And I don't know if he's dancing around the question. I didn't dive into it in terms of he personally doesn't own any, but maybe he owns part of a company that owns some of OpenAI, right? Like maybe there's some, but from everything I've read, it sounds like, and I did listen to the clip, that he actually did not take any equity stake when they raised, when they kind of opened it up to investments. He didn't take an equity stake. So he is just the CEO and board member, which is just interesting.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Just interesting.
That is rare for a CEO of a large corporation to not have any equity in the company at all.
Yeah. So that's just something that people can ponder there and think about. So let's see. Let's move on to our next topic here. So Google Bard. I'm going to share my screen here of Google Bard. Is now open to everyone. Google Bard's been around for a little while, kind of in beta. There was a wait list, but now it's open to everyone, and it's gotten quite good. I was trying it yesterday, and maybe if we can come up with a prompt right here on the fly, maybe we'll do it. If you can think of anything. But Google Bard has gotten very fast at writing articles. It spits out content much faster than OpenAI does, right?
Let's talk about 7-course meals with Bard. What do you think?
There you go.
With the theme, what can Bard do with 7-course meals?
Okay.
By the way,
suggest a few 7-course.
We don't
meals.
plan this in advance.
No, we don't. We really don't. And so maybe this is a really bad prompt, but there you go. It takes a few seconds and then it spits it all out. I have no idea if this is good or not. I'm not a 7 course meal connoisseur myself, right?
I don't know, it
It's
looks
got
pretty
your
good. Right before lunchtime when we're
appetizer.
recording, this looks pretty good to me.
It does. I could use some mozzie sticks, tomato soup, Greek salad, chicken parmesan, right? Yeah, this is great. Some truffles. Sounds delicious. But that's what I found the difference with OpenAI, and we're getting spoiled here, is that I had to wait 2-3 minutes to get my, you can see it typing. Google Bard it's there.
And that's what I was going to comment on, is how fast that result came back. Whereas over on ChatGPT, that would have taken a while.
Yeah. The other maybe pro that I would say that I'm seeing is that it's easier to get current events, current results, like live results. Like if you search for, who won the NBA game or what's the current score of the baseball game, Google Bard knows. It taps into current information. OpenAI does not. I know they have the Connect Live to the Internet in beta on OpenAI, but I haven't seen that working on my end quite yet. So it just appears that Bard is further along in the connection to the internet piece.
And that was always where, you would have to give Google the nod. Certainly we talked last week a lot about how Google is a master at understanding intent, where, Microsoft, ChatGPT, these things might not be quite as far along in their machine learning, but also the ability to tap into a much deeper repository of current events, So I'm not surprised necessarily to see that. I don't know if you feel this way, Spencer, but I think a lot of people, it's kind of that first mover syndrome, right? Like a lot of people still go to ChatGPT, at least in our industry, whereas I don't play around with Bard quite as much as I have played a little bit with it, but not nearly as much as I am with ChatGPT.
Yeah. And I just started playing around with it this week. And of course, I just asked Google Bard, is Google Bard better than ChatGPT? Right? They both got strengths and weaknesses, but it, popped out a table here of, that breaks down data features, access to the internet, yes and no, right? Accuracy, Google Bard is more accurate, ChatGPT is less accurate. Creativity, Google Bard is less creative, ChatGPT is more creative. So maybe it is unbiased, I don't know. Engagement, Google Bard is less engaging, ChatGPT is more engaging. I don't know how they judge that. Overall, Google Bard is better for generating comprehensive and informative responses, whereas ChatGPT is better for generating creative and engaging content.
Man, it feels so much like the positioning that Google has taken up, which is ChatGPT is a conversation and Bard is more of a search function. I'm being overly summarizing when I say that, but it feels very much the positioning that Google has tried to take up when it positions ChatGPT and Bard.
Yeah, and the other overall that I'm seeing is like, okay, if you want to write a flowery essay or poem, go to ChatGPT. If you want a factual data-based summary or article, go to Google Bard. That's kind of how they're positioning, right?
Maybe we should
it's
get
more accurate, it's less creative, right?
Maybe we should get the initial from Bard and then take it over to ChatGPT and have it make it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe there's going to be kind of a 1-2 punch that people can use with all these models that we
there's
have.
There's your plugin idea.
There it is, right there. Do it all in one. So people, I'd encourage people to play with all the different AI tools. Google Bard, like I said, it's been pretty decent for me from the little tests that I've done. So it's now open and available to everyone. You don't need to wait. Go use it. And it is free. So that's the other pro. You don't have to pay $20 a month like ChatGPT. So let's see where I'm at. Okay. Jared, I know you got something about Core Web Vitals here. So let's go ahead and talk about that, which it may take me a second to find my screen. Here we go. Introducing INP to Core Web Vitals.
Yeah, so this is... it's big, it's not big. It's big in that Core Web Vitals, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, like it's important and it's big. Certainly as people who focus on ranking websites, Core Web Vitals is a part of what Google wants us to focus on. We can save is site speed a ranking factor or not? We can save that topic for a different day. But Core Web Vitals has done a good job of taking a lot of site speed metrics and boiling them down into 3 metrics that we can pay attention to. And it's trying to do more than just speed, but overall experience, right? So with that on the table, one of those metrics was FID, or first input delay. That's gone. So that was always the squirreliest of them. If talking to a guy who we do site speed optimizations and repairs for clients every day, FID is always the squirreliest in that if you get a bad FID, sometimes it's an easy fix, and sometimes you're kind of throwing your hands up going like, I don't really know what to do. So I think Google's been pretty clear they know it's the squirreliest, and they've now replaced it with what is called INP. That now stands for, instead of first input delay, we're now talking interaction to next paint. I like it, for the record, because I think looking at things from a paint perspective is far better than from a delay perspective, because it's much more inclusive. So, yeah, I have a couple of things to kind of deep dive a bit, but what are your take initially on this announcement?
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? They're trying to dial in a little more to get what really makes your site have core web vitals, and this is just one of those metrics that they're going to add to Google Search Console. And so when you go in and you log into your Google Search Console, you can start seeing this. Although, can we see it now in Google Search Console?
I can't yet. No.
Okay.
It looks like it's coming.
Okay. Yeah, it's coming soon, and it sounds like they've spent over a year, right? Sort of testing this. Oh, here's the timeline, of course, in the big graphic, right? May 2022. It's been about a year that they've been testing it. Says in another year it'll be stable as a core web vital metric. So it's interesting. Yeah, for sure.
Let me read off what the differences are. It'll be a little bit of a mouthful, but I'll read it off just so people who are listening can hear it. So FID was a huge step forward. Well, I'm reading, by the way, from Google, so this is not my opinion. FID was a huge step forward when we introduced it as a core web vital in 2020. It offered a way to measure responsiveness as real users experience it. FID wasn't without limitations, though. The name actually gives away two limitations. Again, reading from Google, first input and delay. FID only reports the responsiveness of the first time a user interacts with a page. Even though first impressions are important, it is not necessarily representative of all the interactions throughout the life of a page. Enter INP. Rather than only measuring the first interaction, INP takes all interactions into account, reporting one of the slowest over the entire lifetime of the page. Blah, blah, blah. So it's more of a paint type of thing rather than just a first input type of thing. We'll see how it plays out. I don't know if it's better for site owners, if it's better for user experience. Certainly, I can see it being better, and I do like the overall approach of going after a paint perspective rather than just a first input. So, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there a place that site owners can go right now and test out their INP?
I don't think so. No, I don't think that's a good question. I don't know of one. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
I did see that it's not going to be baked in until next year, 2024. I think I saw. So
yeah,
I do think it's still just news. But if we're wrong on that, please throw a comment up in the YouTube comments there. And we'll get that. That might be your place to find a link if there is one.
Okay. All right, well, that will be something for people to keep their eye on. Google sort of updating their core web vitals and what they'll be measuring at least. So we will watch that for sure. Boy, so we hit on like 4 or 5 different news topics. I think that covers the news topics that we wanted to cover for the day. So maybe let's move on to our shiny object shenanigans. Things we've been working on the side, not necessarily our main focus in our business, but things that are fun, little side projects, or just something that, maybe not everybody is aware. And so I've been sharing over the last few weeks, my either faceless YouTube channel or my Amazon influencer program videos. Those are still going. I'll talk about more of those in future weeks. But something that I've actually been working on now for over a year is something called Rank Logic. Rank Logic is a brand new WordPress plugin that will do several things, and I'm just about to start beta testing. So that's why I guess I'm announcing it, is that maybe even later today, I just need to make a couple of tweaks. I may ask for some beta testers. And so,
have you publicly shared the name yet?
I don't know that I have.
This is my first
This may be the very first time that I am sharing the name. And
again, we need that music, like that trumpet announcement music.
Yes.
We're about doing these in the moment, like we just don't have time to edit and add these in, but this is an announcement.
It is an announcement of sorts, right? So I'm sharing just the homepage, right? It's pretty simple now, but the idea is that you can track your keyword rankings, and so you will be able to do that. It is a rank tracker right within WordPress, but it also will allow you to track the performance of your content in a variety of ways. You can group articles together by author. You could group them together by anything you want. So let's say you have a group of articles that are all created via AI, and you could group those together and see how they perform versus articles that are not produced via AI, right? And get a graph specific to whatever group, keywords, author, however you want to group, slice and dice the content of your site, you can see how that strategy is working, right? And then the final thing, which is I think kind of a big deal, is you can discover content changes that are actually producing results. The plugin will kind of record events or changes that you make on your content. So if you change the title of your article, or if you add new paragraphs to your content, or if you add internal links to your articles, or make any changes, RankLogic will track those changes, and then you can see after you've made those changes, do your rankings go up? Do they go down? What happens to the traffic? That sort of thing. So that's the plugin idea in a nutshell. I'm not really trying to pitch it here. I'm not even necessarily asking people to go to RankLogic and become a beta tester, because I think I can only accept, maybe 20 or so. So I'm going to probably publish on social media and just ask for some people there, and I'm sure I'll get 20 or 30 people to test it out for me. But it's been a side project for sure, but it's something that's been in development for over a year. I'm almost embarrassed to say that it's taken that long, not because it's so complex, but because my developer has been so busy with Link Whisper, our main focus, right? This has been a side project, back burner project that as he's had time, he's put some development hours into. And so here it is. I'm excited to get some beta testers. We'll test it probably for a month or so, and then maybe be launching it publicly.
So did this spin out of, I remember tweet, email, something that you shared where you were tracking in Google Analytics how your various authors performed. It was probably on the back of your content push for Niche Pursuits, which I think started in 2022.
Yes.
But it feels like this might be on the back of that.
I do believe that fed into this idea. Absolutely. I loved being able to group the types of content. What I was doing is every article that was published, in 2022, I had a specific graph in Google Analytics for that. I loved that. It's kind of cumbersome to set up in Google Analytics, and I don't even know if Google Analytics 4 does this. And so, yes, part of that idea was I loved that. I wanted to be able to do that. And then just adding the sort of content or content testing, content update testing feature here was, again, another thing I had done a ton on Niche Pursuits is constantly updating content, but do you really know if those updates helped? This should give you some insight into whether those updates worked. So
can't wait. I'll have to apply to be a beta tester.
Yeah, maybe I'll let you in.
I was gonna say I got the inside track here because we're recording before anybody else knows about this.
That's true, right?
But being first in line doesn't necessarily mean you'll get approved, right?
I don't know what I'm going to use. What criteria I'm going to use to pick. So we'll see if we make.
You've got a day to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I got going on. Jared, what about you? What have you been working on?
I wanted to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
In this video, I will show you how we landed a placement on BBC and dozens of links in massive regional online publications such as Wales Online, Daily Post, and many more. This PR campaign was about the easiest place to pass your driving test for the first time in the UK. This is how we've done it. We simply went to DVLA website, found the latest car driving test data by test center, and downloaded the data in a CSV format. Once we had the data, all we had to do is to look at the number of total tests per test center, then look at the number of first time passes to calculate the percentage of people who passed their test for the first time. Once we had the percentage numbers, we created a press release with our findings. Then we went to Roxhill and found journalists who talk about driving tests, and also looked for journalists who write in regional publications in the UK. In total, we have found about 1,800 journalists and sent them our press release by email. Within less than a day, our story got picked up by BBC, Cornwall Live, Wales Online, and dozens of other publications in the UK, providing our client a tsunami of backlinks perfectly relevant to the audience of the client, who is a specialist in learner driver car insurance. I hope this video is helpful and it shows you how you can also build links with freely available data from official sources.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now. Well, you know, I'm feeling like I need a new shiny object just to keep up with all of your shiny objects, because you know, I keep reporting on the same shiny object every week. Although it's different iterations of it, I will say that it's usually something different. We're trying something new, but this week we going back to the weekend growth kind of brand, I guess as you would call it, right? Started with a newsletter idea, sending out a newsletter every week. And so last week, all the conversation around Google's I/O announcement, and that really got website content creators thinking about, man, I've got to diversify my traffic sources and I've got to own my own brand, right? And I just kept talking to different people about that. And I mean, it's interesting because talk about pivoting quickly. I sat down with my business partner, Caitlin, and I mean, we set up email and create funnels for clients at our agency all the time. That's part of, you know, a strategy we use, and we're constantly helping businesses do that. So we just basically took that service model and spun it up on Weekend Growth, and you know, we kind of launched our first service on Weekend Growth, if you will, and had it put together in a couple of days and launched it on Tuesday, I think it was, and so. Now on weekendgrowth.com, it's on the screen right there, I see, you can have us set up your email newsletter funnel, autoresponder funnel for your niche website. And you can either have us just get it going so that you have the basics set up, you're collecting email addresses with a lead magnet. You can have us kind of optimize the whole thing and really build it out so you're really optimized for conversion. And you can even have us build out an entire email funnel for you that'll actually, you know, sell some of your affiliate products or things like that. So, you know, it's kind of fun to just, almost in contrast, Spencer, to your your tool you just said, like where it's taken a long time. Like, man, this one came from an idea on a Friday to launch live, sending out to the email list on a Tuesday.
I will say that the way you're doing it is the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to come up with the idea and quickly launch sort of an MVP. And so I love this. It's you know, an MVP, right?
It's MVP. Like, I'll tell you that much. It's MVP.
Yeah. You had the idea, you put it up quickly, sales page, you know, very quickly. Just, hey, let's type out, here's what we do. You know, if you want it, sign up. So my question is, why only the three providers here? And I lost that list. It's MailerLite, ConvertKit, and Beehive, I think.
Yeah.
Is it, that you only accept? Why not just do it for anybody?
So we'll do it for anybody. The
Okay.
out-of-the-box service in this pricing model is only for those. A couple reasons. So first off, we did a big review about a month ago where, again, Caitlin, who is my business partner and our COO and like the operational mind, tons of email experience, certified on many large platforms for these sorts of things. She did a big review and basically rated MailerLite, Beehive, and ConvertKit as the top three options for our space, right? And they fit different buckets. So it's cool because it's not like, hey, here's three and this one's the best, but it's like, this is the best for this is the best for that. And so the reason we only do these three is because honestly, it would be very rare for you to be a content creator in like this space that we're in and these kind of websites we build, it'd be rare for you to opt for something outside of one of those three.
Yeah. Yep. Those are kind of the hot providers, I guess, if you will. Although there's a ton out there.
Oh yeah, I mean, man,
it's crazy.
We're in at least 10 different ones with clients as we speak, from Pardot by Salesforce, HubSpot. We're in HubSpot a ton. HubSpot's awesome. Love HubSpot, but wouldn't recommend it for someone who's building like like a food blog or something like that.
So I know you touched on this a little bit, but what was your decision-making process like to decide, hey, let's launch this as a service? Like, yeah, talking with your partner, why did you decide to launch it and make it happen?
Yeah, so great question. First thing is we already do this. Like, so it wasn't really about how do we, it wasn't really launching a new service. It was packaging a service that we already offer on the agency side of things.
Right.
So really there wasn't like a lot of internal operations that needed to get developed. There were really no processes that needed to be built out. I started by messaging Caitlin. I was like, hey, if I told you that we had to set up an email autoresponder sequence for, and I referenced a friend of ours, their niche website, like how long would that take us to do? And she kind of came back and I was like, oh, that's okay. And I'm like, do we have processes for that? And she's like, well, yeah, Gabe does this and, Arlene would do that. And, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay. So it was already basically built out. And then it was like kind of validating, like, is this interesting? And I just paid attention to the people, in our community, and it was. And at that point, it was like, well, let's just put the two together. So,
yeah, no, I love that decision-making process. So how's it been received? Like, feedback or, people seem to think it's a good idea?
Full transparency. It is the most clicked email we've ever sent at Weekend Growth.
Wow.
And we've had a couple of orders.
Yeah.
So right. I would say I'm curious. I don't know if it's one of those things that it sounds exciting, but maybe people are reticent. If the price point is like, I want that, but do I want to spend $500 or $1,000? Like, how much do I want that? Right. Is there a lot of trepidation in our industry? Is it one of those things that, and we've seen this with services we've launched at our agency, where like it takes a while to build steam. Like the launch won't necessarily be huge in terms of numbers, but then over time, like we start selling one or two of these a week, and we definitely have certain products and services we sell at the agency that are like that. So I would say certainly buzzworthy, given that it's the most clicked email by a wide margin we've ever sent out.
Yeah.
And
that's good.
Flow.
Yeah, no, that's good. And, I think a lot of these things, they do take a little bit of time it's like a slow burn. I think they say, people need to hear about products 8 times before they make a purchase on average. So part of it is that maybe there's a lot of interest and, you mention it again in a couple of weeks or a month and it's like, oh, maybe I will do that. The other thing is I know you've been sharing your numbers. I mean, you just hit like 1,000 subscribers a week or 2 weeks ago, right? You're still building up that email list as well. And so as that grows, right, you double or triple it, you're going to get double or triple the orders probably.
This is one thing to point out. I'll share it because I've been sharing pretty much everything along the way here is of the people that have ordered, the people that ordered commented that the bonuses were important to them. And so we did do a couple of promotional bonuses that expire this week. And, so it's a good reminder, like, and they might just be saying that, right? But, that, the way you launch is probably as important as what you launch.
Yes, indeed. So if people want to check that out, it's weekendgrowth.com. I'm sure they can find it in the menu, but otherwise you can go to /email-newsletter-setup. Can check that out. Cool. I love it. I love coming up with an idea, launching it quick, and just making it happen. I think that's the way that entrepreneurs should operate. Come up with that idea, get it out the door. Don't take the year-long route like me if you can avoid it, but sometimes you can't avoid it.
Oh, that's how, and again, I think it's about knowing the time and place to do that, right? Like my mentor always taught me, my business mentor said, jump off the cliff and build your wings on the way down. And I do love that, but there's a time and place for that, right? So
yes,
this was that time and place though. So
very good. All right, let's move on to our final segment of the show. One weird niche. we're going to talk about a couple of weird niche sites that we've come across, things that are maybe just not your traditional blog, not your traditional, hey, let's find a keyword and write an article about it. These are different. And these are two of my favorite. I'm not going to lie. I thought of mine and I was like, ooh, this is a good one. And always brings a smile to my face. And then when you came up with yours and I saw yours listed, I was like, oh, I've known about this one for a while. This is a great one to talk about. So let's jump into both of these. So I don't even know how to introduce it other than to just, I'm going to share my screen. I first came across this on Reddit, actually. Over the last, I don't know, 1 or 2 years, I've seen this guy posting on Reddit, and it is unnecessaryinventions.com. This guy, he goes around and he creates real products for unnecessary reasons. Or I think he has a better tagline than that. But basically, it's solving problems that you don't really have, and they're just very funny products, right? Like most of these, I don't even know. I'm sharing my screen here. It's like an attachment you add to the end of your
My thumb always
hose.
gets tired trying to get more pressure from my hose. So let's invent a better solution. I
And
picked
you
up a
can,
brand new hose so I can get my
anyways, he has
calipers
whole
and get
videos
exact
of
dimensions.
how he does all these things. So he started, from what I understand, he started on Instagram, right? And, he's got these products that, here is, I don't even know what this one is. He's wearing a hat on his head and putting food items in it that you can rotate as you watch the game, and it makes it really easy. So he's got these very unnecessary inventions that we've got here. I've spent probably too much time looking at all of his very unnecessary inventions that he has. But I started thinking about this site and wondering, how is he making any money?
Yeah.
Right? So if you go to his site, he doesn't, right on the site, like I neglected to share the Instagram that I was actually on when I was talking about the Instagram, which I'm sharing it now. But if you go to his site, like there's no ads, you can't really buy anything other than, I think, a sweater or something. But from doing some research, he has a very large Instagram following and a very large YouTube following, right? And so if you go to his YouTube channel here, he has 3.73 million subscribers. And I think this is a huge source of his revenue, right? He does have ads before all of his videos, and he makes probably quite a bit of money there. And if I share, if you go to Social Blade, a fun social analytics tool, you can see that his channel, it tells you how many views he's getting, right? It's, does it show daily? 127 million views in the last 30 days is what it estimates. And it estimates that he makes anywhere from $31,000 to $508,000 a month from his videos. I don't know where he is in that range, but I'm guessing it's more than 31,000, right? I think he's probably pulling in close to 6 figures a month just from his YouTube display ads. And the final thing in doing my research that I read about is he does a lot of brand deals. So he will actually implement brands within his inventions or within his videos, and they pay him a brand fee to do that. So a very unique, weird niche for sure.
Man, I have so many things to say about this niche. First off, it's so cool. I will say that much. The inventions he has and the okay, so it's so cool. That's the first. Let me start there. Second
Yeah.
off, the video quality is amazing. Like that's got to be a component of why it's so successful is because they're simple videos, but they're super well produced. They're super well edited. The content in the video is very captivating and very interesting. It's very real. It's a very unique perspective.
Right.
You're playing them on the screen.
I am just playing random ones, and they're hilarious. I mean, he's got a unique skill set because he's like a comedian. He's got a great sense of humor. I don't think he ever speaks in his videos, but he's also a very skilled like mechanical engineer. Like he builds all of these himself. Like he has, I don't know, 50 3D printers in a team now, right? He builds these unique products.
And let's since that's what we tend to do here, I just feel like he is leaving so much money on the table. So I did a little bit of research. He does have I got excited because he has a shop on his website. It links from his website to a different domain Shopify store, which I don't love that. Wish we could keep it in the same domain, but I'll take the webmaster hat off for a second. And all he sells is a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
That's it. These would be fantastic gag gifts, party favors, white elephant gifts. And by the way, I know for a fact, because we've worked on a site for this, a brand for this at my agency, they sell like crazy, especially around the holidays and during seasonal times. Like the everything apron I'm looking at, which is like 7 down on his homepage. Dude, that would be a fantastic party gift and gag gift and a fun thing to give to your dad on Father's Day. And he'd never wear it, but you'd be,
right.
Yeah, he'd love it. It'd be a kick. It'd be a laugh. I'd give that to my dad, and you charge $25 for that? I don't know. I feel like you're leaving so much away on the table.
I agree, and I seem to recall when I was checking him out a year ago that he was selling some of his products. They're gag gifts. So I wonder why he stopped or why he doesn't sell them anymore.
And to your point, this doesn't feel like my Thai guy from last week who maybe the feeling is he just doesn't get it, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean like he's just out drinking Mai Tais and he doesn't know about the world of possibilities. This feels like you said, like a guy who's made a conscious choice for some reason not to sell these.
Yeah, because like I said, if memory serves correct, at one point he was selling some of his products. I wonder if just his YouTube channel and brand deals are doing so well.
Yeah.
That here's one of my favorite, the burrito bumper. You eat a burrito, it gets a little messy, but luckily you got a funnel there and it catches it right inside a taco shell, right? So nothing goes to waste. He's just.
I need one of those for my kids.
Yeah.
They can have that with every meal they eat.
Oh, seriously. Yeah, don't even get me started, man. I had to, just this morning, I had to change my 9-year-old son's shirt because his breakfast was all over his shirt before he went to school.
Yep.
So 2 shirts before, 8 a.m.
Anyways, I mean, but I think to your point, like I will say, it's our job to kind of poke around these well, it's not our job.
That's what we do for fun.
I was going to say, let's be perfectly clear. There's no job description for that. But what we do here is kind of poke around and try to discover websites' potentials when it comes to this. But there is something to be said for staying in your lane. If you do something well and it's working well, there's something to be said for staying in your lane.
I agree.
We're not going to get through anything if you keep putting these videos up.
Silence loud eaters with the munch muffler. One of my daughters would love this if I would wear this. So she always complains about my eating. Anyways, people can go check out unnecessaryinventions.com. It's awesome. Like he's clearly probably doing very well just with YouTube ads and brand sponsorships. But yeah, maybe there's even more fun stuff he could be doing. So there you go. If somebody's creative, maybe that sparks some ideas for them. So should we move on to your final weird niche site here?
Mine is not nearly as fun, although I know mine has a personal touch for you, Spencer. Which
let's not get carried away here. You are the one that came up with it. Let's be clear.
Yeah, I am. To be fair, so my personal my weird niche, is realitysteve.com, and you might kind of like me wonder what the heck that is all about. Reality Steve is such an interesting Genesis, but it's a website that basically is a Bachelor TV show gossip site. And by the way, might I comment, an extremely popular one. So, full disclosure, I don't watch The Bachelor. I've never watched even a minute of it, but...
Oh, Jared, you can be honest with us. You're a huge fan, we know.
Well, if I do admit a lot of things here, but I don't watch the Bachelor. But my business partner Caitlin, who I've referenced a lot here, is, as far as I know, religious about it, like very much into it. And I was talking to her about weird niches, and she said, "You ought to talk about this one." And I dove in and thought, yes, we should talk about this one. So, first off, interesting backstory. This guy, basically was he called into a radio show every week, and was like a featured caller for a talk radio show. And he kind of got known for having good takes or being funny or something. I don't know the whole backstory. I was just reading about it. And that led to this and that and the other thing. And he basically got shared an insider tip on one of the results before it came out. He shared it, and bam, that was that. Now
It went viral.
He went viral. And basically, this guy is featured everywhere. He has his own podcast. And he's basically known inside of this very large circle as being the person who breaks news about the show before it actually happens.
Right. Yeah. And to be clear, people that don't watch The Bachelor, and unfortunately, I have seen some episodes of The Bachelor.
Okay.
My
Safe
wife,
spot, Spencer.
if I got to come clean, but my wife is a fan of this, so every once in a while I get roped into the viewing of this. So I'm familiar with this world, and she follows Reality Steve, so that's why I know about this, and it kind of made me chuckle. Is the way The Bachelor works, or a lot of these shows, is there's sort of a winner or a couple at the end that make it, right? Reality Steve reveals who the final choice is, sometimes before the season even starts. So you know the spoiler, who's going to get second, who's going to get third, who's going to get fourth. Reality Steve knows all. He's got a crystal ball. He reveals it before the shows air. And so that's why a lot of people follow him, is for this inside scoop type information.
And he's right a lot, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much always right.
He's pretty much always got it, from what I understand.
What we do talk for the record, some of the niche, it's a DR55. The guy's been featured everywhere that you could be featured, and so in terms of, boy, look at that graph though. That is an up and down graph.
Yeah, very much. And this is just organic traffic, but sometimes, probably when Bachelor's on, right, for a few months, it goes nuts, and then when it's off season, it's not so much. So
here's an interesting question. Does Ahrefs take into consideration the seasonality of the query? Because to me, that looks like a very up and down graph of rankings. That looks like Google cannot figure out if this guy is legit or not.
That's a good question. I don't know. If you're looking up gardening topics right now in spring, does the search volume show really high? And then when you search it, in winter, is it really low? That's a good question.
I believe Ahrefs, and that's what we're looking at, Ahrefs. For those who are listening, we're looking at this chart of, what is that? Performance, they call it. Yeah. Average organic traffic. So that's their estimation of traffic. And it really goes up and down quite a bit. And I'm not going to, I don't want to get quoted. I always thought they took a yearly average for the keyword volume, which obviously is a big impact on how they estimate organic traffic. But that's a good point. I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly. This graph, we know why it's spiky, right? It's not necessarily Google ranking and then not ranking. It's just sometimes people are searching for Bachelor spoilers, and sometimes they aren't, right? When a new season's about to come out, everybody's going to be searching for these keywords. Right. And Reality Steve is going to be number one, like he always is. Right. So it's interesting. But then I also, not to, I know you got more to say about this, but I also wanted to share SimilarWeb just to show the total visits, right? Ahrefs only shows organic, right? Which is a smaller portion of his traffic, right? But it's showing about 191,000 visitors a month. Last month, right? And a lot of that, I think, his biggest source is social traffic. If I recall, social media networks are his largest source, right?
So my next thing was going to be a question for you. I mean,
Okay.
this is a bit of a tough one, right? Like, how would you better monetize what he's doing? It's a tough one, right?
Yeah. So let's see here. So if we go to his website, he does have display ads, right? So he's doing that. He's capturing the display ad revenue. He has a podcast. I have to assume that he's got podcast sponsors, so he's probably got that monetized. Boy, that is a good question.
Because again, and this is a consideration that we've talked about on the podcast with people before, like The Bachelor is a trademarked product, so you can't like sell Bachelor swag, or it's difficult to monetize a trademarked product, right? So it's buzzworthy, and you have a built-in audience thanks to a large brand building it for you in many ways, but you also can't monetize it directly, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. But I mean, you kind of just have to give the guy kudos and pat him on the back for like, man, you've built a whole career off of just like breaking news on this one particular show, right? And so what's interesting is that nobody really knows his source. Like nobody, everybody always wonders like, who is feeding Reality Steve all this inside information? Nobody knows, and it's been going on now for like however old the show is. I don't know, 15 years.
Let me ask you this. I don't know how avid of a fan maybe your wife is. I wish I had Caitlin in the room. I'd ask her, but how much would you pay to be a part of a community, or how much would your wife pay to be a part of a community where she found out a month before he revealed it to the public?
I don't think she would pay anything.
Okay.
I don't think she's that diehard.
Do you think there is a community for that?
I don't know.
Yeah?
I don't know. But you never know, right? Like, all you need is 1% of a community, and if you can charge, hey.
I don't know how, like, ravenous the community is, obviously, but, I think the only play I can think of to take this to the next level would be a community type of play.
Yeah, a community.
And trying to find and test different monetization opportunities inside of that community.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe he's already doing it, but I don't see it. All I see is like he's covering the whole Bachelor, series.
Yeah.
What
I
if
agree.
he moved to other shows, right? You've got Survivor, you've got Amazing Race, you've got other reality shows, right? He's the reality guy. So maybe he's doing that. But I don't know. I feel like
He's got an account there. Look at that. You can log into my account.
so maybe he's doing something.
Yeah, he might be. You're right. I
Register.
just saw
I
that.
don't know.
Register. What does it say there?
I don't know. It makes it look like it's free. I can just set up an account. But I was going to say, he needs to get the inside scoop on all these other reality shows and be writing more content on all of these shows. But maybe he needs to follow the more traditional niche site model of like, okay, I've got this great, fan base. I've got great authority. Let's just write more content on reality shows, and hopefully I can get some connections and start, doing spoilers for all these other shows as well. Maybe that would double or triple his traffic here. So,
Well, and to your point, he nailed the brand, the domain name, right? Like he didn't call himself Bachelor Steve. He's perfectly expandable into all reality type of stuff in general.
yeah. So that would maybe be my way to go. Maybe there's some other ways he could monetize, but I would just double down on what's working to expand other shows a little bit. So that's a fun
As
one.
we say every week, there's a niche for everything.
There is a niche for everything, and kind of the whole idea is to inspire others for ideas that they might have. Right? Maybe this will trigger something in somebody out there listening. Maybe it's not reality shows, but maybe it's XYZ, or maybe it's weird products for this niche, unnecessary products for this niche, or, just something. Hopefully, by sharing these weird niche sites, just sparks an idea that, hey, I could do things a little bit differently and maybe start making some money with my website.
Many of the ones we've looked at, they almost tend to go two different ways, right? Like we look at just some that are, that are out there, but not necessarily performing at any, remarkable level. And then we also feature some that are just like really tapped into something brilliant. But a lot of these are really interesting and good studies in branding, in finding something unique and making sure you drive that uniqueness home and how you share about it, what you talk about. Certainly some of the ones we've looked at in the past, but I think of the invention, unnecessary inventions, like exactly what you're getting before you even go there.
Yeah.
And it's a really good lesson in branding.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I just thought of something, Jared. Should we be asking the people that own these weird niche sites, should we ask them to come on the podcast? I mean, should we try to interview Reality Steve and the Unnecessary Invention guy? Maybe so. I
think actually that could be really, yes, I like the idea actually quite a bit. It's an interesting way to go about it. Some of these people, we're speculating on everything that goes into these, which is fun. But I mean, how cool would it be to actually hear some of the thoughts, strategies, and tactics behind some of the things that people are actually putting into this?
Yeah, that could be interesting, because a lot of these are sort of outside the scope of the traditional interviews that we've been doing. We typically are interviewing the affiliate marketer that has the more standard blog niche site, but these are, it's such a similar vein of online business. It's just a little weird yeah, maybe we should be reaching out to these guys. Anyways, just an idea that I had. Viewers and listeners, if you like that idea, if we should be trying to reach out to these weird niche site owners, let us know in the comments. Maybe we'll start doing that.
First one I want to interview is cat text.
Yeah, cat text. Send cat text messages.
Cat facts. That's
cat
what it was.
facts. Yeah.
Send cat facts.
need to find that guy or lady.
We by the way, whenever I don't know how many of this, we've probably done 6 or 7 of these now. And we seem to have found a good rhythm. This is, all joking aside, this is the Niche Pursuits podcast side hustle.
Yes.
Connecting the dots. There, full circle. But our little podcast side hustle of doing the news every week, if this continues to go on, we're going to have a fascinating repository of weird niche sites after about a year or so.
Yeah, got a whole database, and maybe that can be a lead magnet at some point. 291 weird niche sites that will inspire you. So
we could have readers and listeners vote on their favorites, and we could actually have a poll there and
have awards.
Have award
weird niche site awards every year.
And I think if you post that on the internet with your domain authority, Spencer, you could probably rank, have a nice statistics post, and generate more backlinks. NichePursuits.com.
Oh, always ideas. I love it. This is good. This is why we do the podcast. Always new ideas. So, all right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Hopefully you got something out of this. Enjoyed the show. Jared, it's been great chatting with you.
You too. Have a great weekend, everyone. Today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
What a masterpiece PR link building campaign. With 20 links in big publications such as The Sun, Express, Mirror, Wales Online, and still landing, I would say this campaign is a massive success. We told the press that people should turn on their heating this summer if they want to save money next winter. And we landed over 20 links in national and regional UK publications for our boiler client. That's crazy. The campaign hook was pretty clever. It is a known fact, at least in the boiler trade, that if you keep your boiler off for many months, it might rust and it might get you into trouble if you keep it turned off from spring to next winter. We therefore advise the press, with an expert commentary piece, on behalf of our boiler client, that people should turn on their boilers this summer just when the heat wave is in full swing. This way they can avoid a boiler failure next winter and save money. Massive publications picked up our story, including The Sun, Express, Mirror, Wales Online, and a few more dozen publications, giving our client links, lots of links, and lots of happiness hormones. No wonder that so many journalists covered our story, as this headline is a massive link magnet to their audience. This case study highlights the fact that a clever hook can be applied to any insight or story to make a campaign more successful and more compelling to journalists. Can you imagine when people see this headline in the news, "You should turn on your boiler this summer"? There's no way they would not click on it. I would click on it. So this was the hook, and this is why this campaign was so successful. I hope this video inspires and shows you what's possible with a clever hook.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now.